Alright, so the last part of the section is on our intentional imitation of Jesus' method. So let me ask you guys a question. Who are all the parties involved in making of a disciple? So I have God, the triune God. I have individual involved, the people of God, the community. And I put down life. Life. But it's life. You know, life can move us or compel us. Or life doesn't take you out to Megan Bean and for a cup of coffee and challenge your character. Life just kicks you to the curb because your character is weak. And you made some bad decisions, you're impulsive, and life doesn't... Then maybe that moment life is teaching you something and you're like, okay, I need to go be a disciple of Jesus. Or, I need something to help me with this character because it's killing me. So sometimes life does that too. So we go back to Matthew 28:18-20. I love this verse. Then Jesus came to them and said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you, and surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. So the way what helps me is breaking this down into two parts. There's multiple parts here, but it just for me to just simplify it. One is to make disciples of all nations. I call that making disciples of the lost. Right? And that's something we know we should do. And the thing we want to do. And each person does it to the degree they do it, and so on. But I think, there's another component too. It says, teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you. In other words, making disciples of the found. So there are two components. One is the lost and the found. But again, going back to the way I did it, meaning do this the way I did. So the way Jesus made disciples of the lost, the way Jesus made disciples of the found. That's how we are now told to go and do it. What am I doing with them? Again, the answer should come from the 3C and 3D. Am I helping them connect with God? Am I helping them connect with people of God? Am I helping them connect with the mission? Am I helping them be challenged in their walk with God and the family and the mission? And are they changing in their understanding of God, in their connection or the understanding of people of God, their relationships, and their relationship with the lost world? Does that make sense? But that's not all. And this is the important part. So if I'm doing that, who's doing that for me? And that's the power of the Great Commission. And that's the importance to not neglect that part of the Great Commission. If I am doing that for someone else, who is doing that for me? If I'm not being taught by somebody, I'm telling you I'm Jesus, which is a problem. So there is this incredible learning and teaching happening. And that's really a holistic disciple making. Someone should be teaching me to connect with God after 18 years of following Christ. And again, that's why I said, who could that be? So the principles involved, myself, God, obviously God, God's Word, God's Spirit. I meet with Temba and Zama as part of... But notice how I have to be intentional. The level of openness, the level to which I need to be challenged to change is on me, is incumbent on me after all these years. When you're a younger disciple, you hopefully are getting a little more attention. But even there, you got to be responsible for yourself in the sense that you have to still look at, you have to own it. But as an 18-year-old disciple, assumptions are made about me. So I have to choose. This helps me. That's all I'm trying to get at. It's not natural, it's not easy, but this helps me a lot because I want to follow Jesus. And so I'm like, okay, am I connecting with God? Am I connecting with God's people? Am I connecting with the mission? And that's the challenge, Am I challenged in my relationship with God? Am I challenged in my relationship with God's people? For me, I find my connection with God, being challenged by God, reading my Bible, that stuff is fun. It's not difficult. My difficulty is the people of God and relationships, to love people like Jesus did. Then Anton mentioned it too, or Jacques. I mean, this is our struggle, right? I mean, it's hard to love people. How am I doing? Am I humble? Am I, all of that goes within the challenge in my people, my relationship with the in-group. And who's helping me? And that's where I need to have a name. So Temba helps me because that's great. I have campus students that I realize that they need to speak into my life. So I have to make sure I'm intentional in giving them permission and space. And obviously it's not the same as, because they're younger than me, they probably don't feel comfortable. But I do my best. But does that make sense? That's the intentionality of learning and teaching. And I cannot do this teaching without me having to learn. That's a problem. Then I'm basically saying I'm Jesus. I hope I'm making sense there. So here we go. So it's the learning and teaching. So I'm learning and teaching simultaneously how to connect with God through Jesus, connect with God's people, connect with God's people. Learning and teaching, to be challenged in my relationship with God, challenged in my relationship with God's people, challenged in my relationship with the mission. Learning and teaching, change in my relationship with God, relationship with God's people, and relationship with the mission. Hopefully that makes sense. So who's helping you? Who are you helping? And that's the essence of disciple making. Again, just same slide. Repetition helps us retain. What I would like us to talk about is the difference in the way Jesus did it, made disciples, and the way we do, and the similarities in the way Jesus made disciples and we do. What we're going to do for the rest of the 20 minutes maybe, or give or take, is focus on making disciples of the lost. Because relationships are a lot more organic. And so disciple making is intentional and organic, in the sense that we're intentional and then we plant and water, God makes it grow, and it's not like baking a cake. But the principles are very simple. What we want is a high connection, high challenge environment. Starting with high connection. We're investing in it. That's the other thing with disciple making, is it's not a once-off thing. Relationships grow. They have to grow. Or else they stagnate. And so I can't connect with my friend once and then they get baptized and I'm like, hey, we connected once, we're good. It's an ongoing connection. They may go through health crisis, for example. How do I connect with my friend through the health crisis? That's a different type of space. But it's a high connection, high challenge environment that results in high sustainable change. What we don't want is a low connection and high challenge environment. That will result in short-term change, but the person would feel like it's very legalistic. There's no connection. I don't care about you. I'm going to challenge the mess out of you. I would be the one on this side, though. I'm the low connection, high challenge person for years, That's why now I challenge less. I'm kind of like on this side of the pendulum now. Because I'm that guy. I'm the guy who's just like, I don't care about connection. Let's just get to it. Let's get to it. Let's just get to whatever needs to be done. And let's do it, So you can see how much I've had to change and grow. And then you have the apathy quadrant. There's no connection, no challenge. No one cares. You come to Bible talk, you don't. No one even bothers asking you if you were there, if you weren't there. They just don't care. No one cares. It's a terrible space. We don't want that. And then obviously it's the high connection, no challenge. You are not challenged, but there's you're buddy. And you're it's great, like laughter and stuff, but there's sin rotting you away and no one challenges you. Again, no change. And so what's the best quadrant? What's the best space to operate in? Right? It's the high connect, high challenge, sustainable change. And so when we make disciples of the lost, we want to be in a high connection, high challenge space, right? And high change. Does that change once they become a disciple?
No.
It's the same quadrant, and that's why it's who we want to be, and we are humbly practicing it. We're not perfect. I have friends to this day who all I did is challenge them. They're still my friends. I appreciate their grace and patience in teaching me, and I'm still growing. That's my challenge in my in space and out space. I visualize, and those are the two spaces that I need a lot of challenge and change. And I am willing. I want to. But again, the root, it produces the fruit. My root is my connection with Jesus Christ. I want to be like Jesus. But I'm intentional in wanting to grow. But the point is, I can't say that, we need to have one quadrant for those we make disciples of the lost, and then once they become disciples, forget the connect, we're just going to challenge them. That makes no sense. Or vice versa, we won't challenge them at all. Let them become disciples, then we're going to get at them and make sure that's not how it works. That person would freak out. They'll be like, you're weird, what happened? Last week you were not challenging me, and now I get baptized, and the next week you're telling me all about my stuff. We want to be holistic, right? And so to come back to the study series, a study series is a guide, and you hopefully are using the guide with this principle, or this mindset, 3C and 3D. Are you connecting them to Jesus through this? Because the study guide is just all scriptures. It's just that, Are you connecting with that person? Are they connecting with the community? And even there, you got to use wisdom. Some people don't want to come to church. You can't force them. If you want to connect with you have to be at church. That's not connection, that's disconnection. So you have to be wise. You have to, be prayerful. And, say, okay, hey, maybe you and me and another friend can go out bowling or something, if they like bowling. So you're wise, intentional. What do you like to do? And they're like, I like to watch soccer. Well, can our friend and I join you for soccer? Or something, and And it's the same with, and you're going through the study series, you're looking to see them connecting with God. And if someone says, I'm ready to get baptized, what does that mean? Because that could be a ritual for some. It's like, I just want to get baptized because I feel so much guilt. It's like, do you know Jesus? No, I don't know Jesus. I know baptism. Jesus, I don't know. Well, that's a problem. You want to know Jesus. Baptism and repentance and all of that is a result of knowing Jesus. It's not he's the Alpha and Omega, the first and last. And so those questions will help. What makes you want to study the Bible? But it's a connection question. Same with relational vulnerability. Share your journey vulnerably. Not just the highs, but the lows. The highs and lows. Because people need to know this is real. And hopefully that opens up a space for them. So it really is using the study guide as just that, a guide. But they're personal Bible studies. Personal to the person I'm sitting across. And you get to know them. You share scriptures. You share your life. You ask them. And then the goal is very simple. Again, the 3C and 3D. Goal is simple. Connect to Jesus Christ. He is the one that, He's the Alpha and Omega. So connect to Him. But don't just connect to Him. Connect to His people. Don't just connect to His people. Connect to His mission. You see how it all overflows? But it's the scriptures that are bringing conviction in that person's life as you are sharing your conviction vulnerably also. I come back from work, I'm tired. It really takes me an intentional effort to go and meet with people and study the Bible because Jesus did that. We all have stories to share and I feel selfish. I don't want to give, I'm tired. But here's how does that make sense? And that's what people really want. Honestly, people want real relationship with God. They want to know that we can have meaningful relationship with God and people and mission and purpose. And people are seeking it. So hopefully that helps. So Jesus did discipleship in the public space. He preached to large crowds of people. He did it in his 12, the apostles. He did it with his 3, and he did it one-on-one. What is this? How is this relevant? Well, when we go make disciples, we ought to play in these 4 spaces. So the public space is our worship service. So inviting someone to church is disciple making. Sometimes we minimize that. I know I do sometimes, because I love the one-on-one Bible study. But coming to church is important. You're coming to a corporate place where you're in a public space. You are worshiping God. You're helping being made a disciple. I know, in fact, Angie is one of them, but I know others too. What helped them become disciples was the worship. Was the worship, was the singing. And so, inviting people to a public space. Then you have the 12 or the Bible talk or family group. Why is this important? It's important so we don't miss out any space. Like if you come to church but don't go to Bible talk, you're missing out an opportunity, a space to where you can be made a disciple and you can make a disciple. And then there's the 3, which is like a D group. I call it a 3C group, Connect, Challenge, Change group, whatever terminology you use. But there's a group that meets, that you can be open, vulnerable. You can invite your friend to. Because sometimes friends want to come to the large groups because they want to hide, or they don't want to be, no, that's not the right word, not hide, but they just prefer the big group because they're not the focus or center of attention. But some of our friends might want to come to a smaller group. They might come to Bible talk. Some want to come to just like maybe 2 or 3 or 3 or 4 brothers meet. You go grab a cup of coffee and you sit down, you talk life. Some people might want that space. Because as the crowd gets smaller, the vulnerability becomes more and more. And then the one-on-one space. One-on-one Bible studies where it's you, your friend, and maybe another friend taking notes. That space where there's connection, there's openness, there's vulnerability. It's really helpful to grow. So the goal for all of this is Jesus. Again, if you're nothing else, you take away Jesus is the centerpiece of everything we do, because He is. So let's talk practicals as we wrap up here. I hope this slide's not too small. So I've been thinking and praying a lot about this. So what are the practicals? And the first one is it starts with me. It starts with me. And it starts with you. Because the temptation is to go out there and tell other people, hey, you got to do this, Yeah. So it starts with me. Do I have healthy 3C, 3D relationship? I'll give you an example. Do I feel like I am spinning plates? Oh, I got to connect with God. Oh, I got to connect with people. Oh, I got to connect with the mission. Then just slow down and get help. Just slow down and get help. Because that means there's some anxiety in your relationship with God. And you need help. And that's great. You have people in the church who will help you. Because this is not a spinning plate thing. It is a lifestyle of connection. Like relationships are fun. They're not meant to be. They are work, but they're not meant to be work that breaks your back and you're like, oh, I can't believe I have to go meet this person. Something's gone wrong in your relationship, right? It's supposed to be a healing space. In fact, I'll tell you, there's this whole theology of being filled, where life to the full, discipleship as a means to living a filled life. A filled life. And that's what Jesus wants, a filled life. So again, it starts with me. Do I have healthy 3C and 3D relationships? Prayer, going through these scriptures, thinking of Jesus. Okay, how do you do it? How do I do it? And again, noticing there's differences, similarities, just being wise. Make a list of 5 people that you know that you can share your faith with. My dad and mom do a great job. They have people that they're reaching out to, inviting to church, and they get to hear their stories and their drama and so on and so forth. But they're in there. Each one can come up with 5 names. And that's something I pray about. I think I want that for me. I want at least 5 names reaching out to. Again, these are not just disciples being made disciples. That's important too. But this is non-disciples being made disciples. They're experiencing the love of Christ through me. I'm inviting them. I'm keeping in touch. Some are studying the Bible. Some aren't. Hopefully they will. You get the point, right? We all have 5 names we can work with. To invite people to church, again, the public space. To invite them to church. To invite them to Bible talk or family group. To invite to personal Bible study, which is my favorite. But again, like I said, it depends on someone who wants to come to a group gathering or a smaller group or a fun event. These are opportunities for them to experience the love of Christ in community. But a personal Bible study, I think that's a great a way of leaving someone with. Don't join our church, come get to know Jesus. We do Bible studies so you can get to know Jesus. 3C and 3D will look different for different people in different times in your life. Hopefully that's apparent and obvious to us. Does that make sense? We're not competing or we're not competing with each other or comparing. We just want to all practice 3C and 3D. So for some it could mean you're studying the Bible with 10 people because you have that much capacity. Some it could be studying the Bible with 1 person. God bless you. The point is not, I'm engaging in active 3C and 3D. And it's going to look different. I'm not sure what your life situation is like. If there's health issues, is there, so this is not about production. It's about relationship. So you may be the person, if you're going through something, or if you go back to your family group and you recognize or you realize someone's going through something, this is the time of just high connection. No challenge. We're just going to love you. We'll bring you meals. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. And then, that's the season. We'll walk with you. But that's also an opportunity for them to strengthen their faith. Some of these seasons can be transformative. And so again, just remembering that helps. It looks different for different people in different times. Be gracious, be patient. Remember, it's relational. It's relational. Love, it's about connection and challenge and change. But it's connect. Come be with me. Be with Jesus. He wants us to be with Him. I wanted to just close out with MTA. This is just a preview. It's a taste. Hopefully it has been helpful. We have the MTA May 1st, May 2nd. We're going to talk about this more. Neil Trollop's going to be co-teaching. And he's got great material on how to reach out to this generation. How to make disciples. And so we'll talk more about this. But as you can see, this is an important topic. So you can sign up. It's 500 Rand for the audit. I think 1,200 Rand for the full course. You're welcome to do the audit. Please sign up for the MTA and take time. It's a Friday, Saturday. Please take time because this stuff is so essential in us learning and growing and passing it down. If you want notes, I'll send you the notes. If you're in a Bible talk, speak to your Bible talk leader. If you are a Bible talk leader, feel free to, I'll try to edit this video and put it online. You can watch it together. But the main concepts, you can look it up in the Bible yourself. What was Jesus' intentional lifestyle? You can pour through the Gospels and see how He connected with God. He connected with people, His disciples and His mission. He challenged people in their relationship with God. He challenged people in their relationship with each other. And He changed people. And then He makes disciples. He calls disciples to do the same. And that's what He did for His disciples. We just simply call it 3C and 3D. And then our imitation of that, of what He did, knowing there's similarities, knowing there's differences, being wise. And that's really all it is. And we're learning together as a collective how to be great disciples of Jesus Christ, how to be great disciple makers of Jesus Christ, and all for His glory. So next week we'll talk about maturing disciple.